Hurricane Helene, we do know that it made landfall just a short time ago near Perry, Florida. If we can take a look again, Helene hitting this area, relatively close to this area, as it did first hit land there in Florida. The governor was able to confirm that report of the fatality that we showed you video of earlier, that car that was on the highway and the sign that fell down, and there was one loss of life. He expects that in the morning that there may be additional fatalities. He reiterated that now is the time to hunker down. Now is not the time to be going out. He and other officials have stated to be careful of standing water. They're very concerned about potentially down lines or other obstructions in standing water, so they want to make sure that people do not try to drive through. But again, Helene has made landfall just a few moments ago near Perry, Florida. I want to bring in Samara Theodore, our meteorologist. And Samara, I know you've been tracking this now for several days and by the minute with us throughout this evening. Give us a sense of what's happening, what you're seeing right now on the radar.
Okay, Lindsay. So, yes, we have landfall. The shot that you guys just saw was in Perry, Florida, and it actually looked really calm. This is what that looks like from the radar. They're actually sitting in the center of the storm. They're in the eye right now, and that's where we have the calmest conditions. Now, Perry took quite a beating as that eye wall initially approached. In fact, at the Perry airport, we saw wind gusts reported at 99 miles per hour. We know that winds are stronger than that throughout this storm, and right now they're moving into the eye. So folks on the ground in Perry who do still have power, if things look really calm, do not be deceived. That's going to change when the back of that eye wall starts to move in. Perry is also one of the more populated areas along this coastline. There's very little to no population right along the coast to the west of Deckle Beach. But once you start moving inland, Perry's the first town you're going to come across. Then you have Greenville a little bit farther north. In Greenville right now, they're also experiencing hurricane-forced winds. This made landfall as a Category 4 storm. Look at the sheer gravity of the system on the satellite loop and radar right now. 140-mile-per-hour winds. We've got 160-mile-per-hour wind gusts. A distinction I want to make there when we're talking about the winds here is when we say 140-mile-per-hour winds, those are sustained winds. We're taking the average of the winds over 2 minutes. So it's holding that for 2 minutes versus a gust, which might be 20 seconds. So these are long-lasting winds that are bringing down trees, moving debris about, extremely powerful, and it's moving so quickly to the north-northeast at 24 miles per hour. So it's already making it towards the Georgia-Florida line in no time here. What happens next? This system is going to push further inland. By 8 a.m., we expect whatever's left of Helene, which may still be at that tropical storm status, to be north of Atlanta, Georgia. That's just how fast this is moving. So things are getting ready to ramp up for people living in middle Georgia, like Macon, Bibb County. That's where we're going to start to see things deteriorating as we head through the overnight hours. Now, we talked about this early, but I want to keep mentioning this, the extreme wind warning. Just to give you some history on this, Hurricane Charlie back in 2004 hit Florida. And when it came in as the strong hurricane, they didn't have a wind warning for a lot of the places inland that really expressed how dangerous this was. So what the National Weather Service office did was they issued a tornado warning. But since then, what they've done was they've created an extreme wind warning. But I say that to make that parallel that they are experiencing tornado-like winds on the ground there where you have an extreme wind warning. And that includes I-10. That includes just to the east of Tallahassee, Greenville, Perry. So major power outages, I suppose, are happening on the ground there. At first light tomorrow, we'll probably be seeing some pretty epic images out of that region. Then we have the storm surge, one of the deadliest components to a hurricane. We're still dealing with it. We're not done with the storm surge. The governor just talked about how places south of Apalachicola and the Appalachia Bay are still dealing with storm surge, 8 to 12 feet in Tampa, but we could see walls of water as high as 20 feet moving inland. Hurricane warnings pushed further into Georgia, just south of Atlanta, but everyone in blue is under a tropical storm warning because that's just how much of a monstrosity this storm is in size. And I want to talk more about that. So we have the hurricane making landfall, and then coming up, we're going to have the extreme flood risk. We're talking about 20 inches of rain, potentially locally, in some areas in this bright pink here. This is coming after a storm system all week has been pushing to the east. So places like Asheville as of earlier today, already had 8 inches of rain on the ground, and now they're gearing up for another 10 to 15 plus inches. So the southern Blue Mountains, down into Georgia, central Georgia, Tallahassee, extreme flood risk, historic flood risk on the horizon. And then the tornado threat. I explained this earlier, but I'm going to spend a little bit more time with this because this could get you even when you're not close to the center of the storm. So when a hurricane is over water, it's pretty calm and it's smooth, or the water, should I say, is smooth. There's not much friction for this hurricane to run into. Once the hurricane moves on to land, now we're running into friction. We're starting to get the dynamics at play that you need for a hurricane, changes of wind speed with elevation, that rotation we need. And so we get these little tornadoes popping up in the outer bands of the storm, which typically in a hurricane or tropical storm are ranging between EF0 and EF1. But nonetheless, it's adding insult to injury. We've got the floods, we've got the winds, we've got the storm surge, and now we got to deal with tornadoes. So everyone in the yellow, from Naples, Florida, into Savannah, up into Columbia, South Carolina, and southern North Carolina, you all are under a tornado watch tonight. So be mindful of that. Unfortunately, Linsey, this is all making landfall in the nighttime hours. So this just adds an extra layer or compounded effect of danger here. But we're going to continue to monitor this storm through tonight. Back to you.
And of course, first of all, you've done such a thorough job of breaking this all down. So thank you for that, Samara. I know